It's like, Elise, did you poop?
My
Did you poop?
son.
No.
My son is that kind of agentic chaos machine. He'll look you in the eye and then throw the toy that he is not supposed to even have in his hands. And he'll be like, did I do that? Hello and welcome to Old School. My name is Daniel Bader.
My name is Stephen Radosha. How are you doing, friend?
I'm all right. How are you?
Not bad. Not bad. I will say something, and this ties into the theme of the podcast. Every time you send me a link through Telegram, I finally got your message yesterday. Just download Telegram on your desktop. You and you kids with your different things on your desktops. You're lucky I have Telegram at all. I basically have it for you and like two other people with the 16 messaging apps and having it on your desktop. I don't do those things. I just don't do those things. You have to email me a physical link. That's how I know to do these things.
Okay. So what we've established less than a minute into our second episode is that I'm the new school.
100%.
Is the old school.
100%.
Okay, so let's just do some housekeeping first and foremost.
Yes.
Last week we didn't record. We meant to. We had some illnesses. My daughter was sick. My son was sick. We just had a lot of competing time issues.
Yes.
We are still getting our feet wet when it comes to this production.
Yes.
All 11 of you that listened to the first episode and left comments, we love you. Thank you.
Welcome.
We are going to try to do this every week, and we will get better about announcing this to the world. We'll be a bit more on the socials. We published this to YouTube. We published it to various RSS feeds. You can find this on Spotify and Apple Music now. We've also got the video feeds on Spotify. I haven't figured out Apple Music.
Okay.
I haven't figured out Apple Podcast video yet. That I'm still working on. But we're building the foundation of what will eventually be a podcast. So this will be good in season 2, is what I'm saying, right? Like, this is Star Trek: The Next Generation season 1 now.
The bad uniforms.
It's establishing
the
characters' arcs. It's getting there, but the writing is a little cringe.
Right. Patrick Stewart's still a little cranky at that time.
They don't know what to do with him, right? He's too beautiful for TV. He doesn't. People just don't know how to write against that much handsomeness.
You know what? It's not often in the second episode of a podcast you could literally say there were words that were never spoken before, and I think that would probably be right up there. Patrick Stewart was too beautiful to write for.
Exactly
in season
wrong.
1.
No, exactly wrong. Look, as I've embraced my baldness over the last decade, I'm just leaning into all of the classically handsome bald men.
He rocks it too. He makes it work.
He's one of them, obviously.
Sure.
We've got what's his name? Jason Statham.
Okay, right.
Who's another one? A leader. He laid the groundwork. There's who went bald later in their careers? Like, we have John Travolta, but I don't.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis is a great example. Bruce Willis totally owned the bald look.
Sure.
And just embraced it. John Travolta, not so much.
That was a bad turning point. That was when things weren't going well.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anyway, okay. So last week we missed the big news, which was that Tim Cook stepped down as CEO as of September 1st, succeeded by John Turnus. There is a 0% chance that you are learning about this through us. So you've had a week or so to digest it. There have been umpteen hot takes about this. I don't think any of them are particularly hot. Of all of the successions on when it comes to trillion-dollar companies, like this one, not only have we seen this we saw it a mile away because the leaks just kept on coming. The reporting happened.
Sure.
The FT and Mark Gurman at Bloomberg, they reported it. Gurman may have been wrong about the timing, but ultimately, John Turnus is the new CEO as of September 1st.
Sure.
Tim Cook moving up to executive chairman of the board to oversee the relationship with various politicians and supply chains around the world.
Sure. Well, that's his thing. So
he's very good at that.
Very good at that. So.
And we now have a product guy at the helm again.
Right, which is interesting. And I think that I think Tim Cook deserves a lot more credit than he probably might get historically, or maybe historically, or history will be kind to him. I think that nobody knew what a post Steve Jobs Apple would look like. It had become such a cult of personality, and having that driving vision at the front. That what does this look like? They had previous examples in the '90s of CEOs at Apple that didn't go that well. So it was interesting. So he stewarded the ship. He did a good job. Apple Silicon probably will go down as one of the top 2 or 3 best things that the company probably ever does. And he certainly was at the forefront of that with John Turner. And that's why I think John Turner is now the CEO. I think that's probably why that selection was made ahead of some of the other people and the other departments that they had. And I think that now it's important to hopefully get back to focusing on the products again. And I'm not saying they didn't do that before, but I do think that they need a driving vision, not to turn us into like a Steve Jobs love fest, but I do think they need somebody that's like, I think they used to call it the keeper of the vision, that says, okay, all these ideas are great, but you don't get an Apple intelligence by, just listening to every idea that you can get. You have to focus it in and create good stuff again. And I think hopefully that's what we get back to a little bit.
I don't know about that. I mean, there have been a lot of takes on this Tim Cook's product legacy.
Right.
And I just think at the end of the day, I go back to this quote that I think of from Almost Famous, where one of the characters is saying, like, this is back in the 70s when like the Led Zeppelins of the world were kind of becoming the biggest rock bands, and were making millions of dollars. And they're saying how like there was this transition when you go from being an underground band that only a few people know and respect into these quote sellout bands that are there to sell stadiums and make millions of dollars and just be the biggest bands on the radio. And I'm paraphrasing, but basically says, the reason popular music is as popular as it is because it's the best music.
Right.
Right? You argue that the stuff on the radio is built for the masses, and that there's a reason like screaming hardcore is not the most accessible music that's played on FM radio. And the argument is exactly that that people like the mainstream stuff. And if you go by that argument, now whether or not you agree with that, that's your prerogative. And I think that there's nuance to that argument for sure. But if you go by Apple's trajectory under Tim Cook, they made it so that their best products were as widely available to as many people at as many price points as possible. And they did it without really sacrificing the hardware quality, except for a few very, very obvious examples, like the butterfly keyboard, like
the overheating MacBook Pros.
The positioning of the Apple Watch as like a luxury item.
Sure.
But they fixed them. And I think now, as Tim Cook is heading out the door as CEO, you would be hard-pressed to argue that they have ever made a better series, a more cohesive series of hardware products than they've made in the last couple of years.
I get what you're saying, and I agree. And I agree that the hardware is in a good spot. However, a lot of places, a lot of manufacturers have hardware in a good spot, and the differentiator that people have been using for these smartphones now, when they all have really good cameras and they all have high, good build qualities and all the rest of it, is the software experience. And I don't think they've shipped the best software experience for the last 2 years, at least in my view. I think iOS 26, I've encountered more bugs and bad things in iOS 26 than I had in the previous 15 years of using iOS combined. I don't think that was their best effort. I think Apple Intelligence is a disaster. I think notifications are a disaster. I don't think the software has been given the attention it deserves. And now, when that's the differentiating factor, I think, between these devices that are all really good, that to me seems like a letdown.
So, yeah, I think so. I think you're right. And I'll parrot what I've heard from other people because I largely agree with it, that on the phone, the software experience is fine. I agree that notifications are not great. And as an Android user, whenever I go back to an iPhone, I hate notifications. It's just objectively true that Android notifications are better. But most other things are better, I think, on iOS. I think the app experiences are better.
Sure.
I think the developer ecosystem is, which I would argue makes the experience for most people on a regular basis. How often are you interacting with the OS versus a client on top of the OS?
Sure.
I would say it's 95-5, right? You're digging into the settings, you're swiping down on Control Center, like, sure, but for the most part, you're clicking, you're tapping into an app, you're going into another app. The SDKs, the APIs, the functionality of using an iOS app, I just think largely, and I say this having spent the last 4 months on an S26 Ultra, I would say is just like objectively better on iOS. So that's where we stand, where you can make those arguments, and I'm with you on liquid glass is underwhelming.
Sure.
I think liquid glass on larger displays, particularly on Mac OS, is bad. But on the iPhone, it's fine. I think for the most part, you are seeing the maturity of these operating systems, for better or worse, just hitting up against the limits of like what people want out of an OS. But you're also, on the other hand, witnessing Windows just at its worst.
Oh,
right.
Windows 11.
So
you're
comparing a relatively poorly designed, somewhat lackluster Mac OS in 2026 compared to whatever dumpster fire Windows 11 is offering right now.
So bad.
And you just can't make the argument that Mac OS is a worse experience.
No, not Mac. No, right. Not
right.
Mac OS,
so
for sure.
You combine that with like the hardware on the Mac side is the best in the industry by a massive margin.
Sure.
You can certainly make the argument that the iPhone is the most popular phone in the world for many good reasons.
Huh.
And whether it's too expensive or not, right? You have the iPhone E series, which is fine. You have the baseline iPhone 17, which is, I think, the best value for money that you can buy in a phone right now. And the Pros are good. I mean, they're solid products. The battery's been improved. The screens are good. The cameras are good. And then you compare, like, and I just want to make it clear, like, I don't think Apple's hit all home runs. The AirPods Pro 3 are, I think, worse than the AirPods Pro 2.
Okay.
Straight up. Just like a bad product. They miffed it. They just whiffed it. They miffed it and whiffed it. They did not improve that product at all. The comfort is worse. The battery life is not as good. The sound is not as good. And just overall, I just don't think it's a good product. Right? They changed a lot of it and made it worse. But whatever, right? Like, it's not that, but like, that's rare. I think it's rare that you find a successor in the Apple world to be a worse product. And Tim Cook is leaving the company, or at least stepping back from the role that he's in, at a time when I don't think anybody's going to make the argument that Apple is releasing bad products.
No.
On the AI side,
we'll
see, right? WWDC is in a month.
Right.
So we'll have that discussion when it arises. But like, I don't use AI on my phone. I didn't even use it on Android. I opened the Gemini app.
That's
right?
it. Yeah.
How do you use AI on your phone? I don't know anybody who does.
Gemini, yeah. I don't. I try to actively avoid it. I hate it. I hate Now Brief. I hate Galaxy AI is just repackaged Gemini stuff. I don't really see the need for it. It hasn't really fundamentally changed the user experience. There's supposed to be the agentic stuff on the S26. I haven't used any of it. Have you used any of it? Has it ordered a pizza for you yet, or any of that stuff it was supposed to be doing? I certainly didn't. But I agree with you on Tim Cook. I do think that, like I said, the business side was absolutely solid. In fact, if you'll notice, I don't know if they're going to have to this year, but Apple didn't raise prices last year.
Yeah.
And part of that reason was they bought, I guess, whatever they saw coming, but between their own silicon and the reserves that they, I think, pre-purchased, didn't they? There was some sort of large reserve that they didn't need to raise prices. I don't know if they need to this year. But on the business side and the supply chain stuff and just keeping the trains running on time, absolutely fantastic. And financially, you really can't fault the company at all. So I think it's interesting. I think, like I said, nobody knew what a post-Apple Steve Jobs was going to look like. I think I think he definitely did an excellent job in a lot of areas. I do believe that some things need to be cleaned up, like Apple Intelligence, like the software, like a couple other things. But we'll see. I mean, product guy, we'll see what happens. Apple Silicon probably going to take the lead. Obviously, it has. It should. It's worked well for them, and we'll see what happens going forward with that. It reminds me of when we start to talk about transitions. It reminds me of Apple of the old days, and how much fun a lot of those products used to be. I mean, I started on the Apple II, then went to some of the other 90s products that were less impressive. I will tell you though, I'll still be on if it were up to date and possible, I'd be working every single day on Mac OS 9.2. I don't know if there were somehow possible. Just the aesthetics of that, I don't know. That period of Macintosh really just makes me happy for some reason.
So what was the hardware that you were running it on?
That was an original iMac. That would be this iBook that I have here. The
G3.
The G3 iMac. That period, that was like Mac OS 8, Mac OS 9. And the very early, the other iBooks too. Like there was a point when the G4s that you could dual boot, which was really cool. I have the lampshade iMac G4. I still have it downstairs in the basement here. But you could dual boot on that. And I was the only person I knew running an iMac lampshade G4 on OS 9.2. But that was, I used to think, like, that's just, those are periods that I think are really interesting. I think that, like you said, we're never getting back there because the band has become more successful and they want to hear their greatest hits. And it's just, you're not going to get that kind of quirkiness that I used to love about
it goes down to like, okay, so that's what I was saying about the most popular music is the one that is that has the broadest appeal.
Right.
You're not, whenever somebody says like Steve Jobs would never, it's true because Apple under Steve Jobs, when he passed away in 2011, was like a tenth of its current size.
Sure.
You know, he did bring the company back from the brink. The 15 years or whatever that he was back at Apple, right? He brought it to he resurrected it and he made it into a massive company again.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, and perhaps he would have sent it on the same trajectory as Tim Cook with different products. We never know. But at the same time, one can make the argument that outside of like AirPods, there really wasn't anything that Apple launched that that's Apple's launched in the last 15 years that Tim Cook was the primary product guy.
Sure.
That shepherded through, right?
Yeah.
Apple Watch undoubtedly was in development when Steve Jobs was alive.
Sure.
We know that the iPad was because he announced it.
He
built it.
Yeah. Right.
He was instrumental in. They had a bunch of other secret projects on the go. I don't know how much Steve Jobs had in terms of like a car. Maybe nothing.
Right.
Maybe it was just an idea. We obviously know because of reporting from the biography that Steve Jobs was interested in a television.
Yes.
And that never happened. So who knows? But the quirkiness, the weirdness, the overarching like creativeness, the appeal to creatives, which I think was part of the company's DNA, and what meant that it had a 3% market share in the PC space.
Right.
Now that's just marketing,
right?
Yes, everybody who uses a Mac thinks that they're creative, and that the marketing right now targets creatives, whatever that means anymore.
Aspirational.
But like the MacBook Air, it's just the default laptop. It's not a MacBook for students. It's not a MacBook for cheap people.
Right.
It's just the laptop that people choose when they can afford it, because it's the best laptop in the price range.
Yeah.
Now it's the Neo.
Yeah, the iBook was schools. The iBook was he was big on college campuses with the iBook. That you saw them everywhere. I was there at the time, 2002. You sit on campus, you do discounts everywhere on them for education. They still do that, but it was on campus in campus stores and stuff like that. You were able to buy the iBooks, and I think you hit on what I guess the feeling is that there hasn't been a really exciting new product class. And you think, well, what could that be? But you didn't really know what they'd be until they came up with them. So I think that's where the roadblock to me is. Now, and to be fair, on the other side, Steve Jobs had plenty of holdups as well. If he were alive, getting the iPhone to a bigger display would have been a lot bigger fight and might have happened a lot later on, because he was big on the taller display instead of the wider displays. Right. So there was going to be a time when those iPhones are going to look a little dated or get a little wonky. So, I mean, the iPhone 5, I was like, okay. I'm looking over at my friend's S3 or whatever it was at the time. Big, gorgeous 4.5-inch displays, and I'm using I get an extra row.
Yeah, that first Galaxy Note, that was so big. And like that Nexus 6, that whale that everybody was like, oh my God, what the hell is this? Right.
I thought of you the other day. I thought of the show. I was doing an old thing on Windows Phone, which I know is your favorite platform.
I love Windows Phone.
So I was looking. There was a phone that that Nokia did that was meant to be the phone for big displays back in the day, and it was the Nokia 1520.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you know what? Okay, it's like, okay. So I'm going back the other day because I'm looking at my 2010. My Nokia 2010, the yellow one with the big camera hump on the back, thinking, okay, this had a 4-whatever-inch display. I'm like, what was that one that felt massive at the time? 6-inch display.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even register today. It wouldn't even.
But again, those were 16:9 aspect ratios.
Yes, which I loved, by the way. Can we bring that back?
They were so wide. Like if you pick up a Nexus 6 today, which is comparably small, it was a 16:9 display. So like it was I think it was wider than most of today's phones.
Yes, definitely.
But
absolutely.
It just felt awkward. And the irony is, with the iPhone Fold being rumored to be a kind of a Google, like an OG Pixel Fold aspect ratio, we're kind of going back to that idea that phones should be more landscape friendly.
Which I love. Why did we get away from that? I understand one-handedness. You wanted to be able to use them one-handed. But I loved 16:9. It's what we view our videos in. It's our content. A lot of games look great in it. The apps look great in it. I don't understand what the big, other than the fact that you want to be able to use your Fold one-handed. I mean, I guess. I don't, was that enough for these tall, awkward displays that you don't want to game on? You don't want to watch video, big bars on the side? Was that worth the price? I don't think so. Not to me.
Yeah. I just think I don't think it was... I don't think it was a bad idea when Google did it with the OG Pixel Fold. I just think Android apps weren't ready for that format yet.
Correct.
And I don't think people really understood. And because it was so dissimilar to the Galaxy Fold at the time, which was this skinny
1x1 or 1.1
bar, right? It looked so different.
Right.
And Google had no choice. Every other manufacturer, Oppo, Xiaomi, Honor, were all developing slightly different versions of the Galaxy Fold, and it was incumbent on Google to sort of, I mean, I still think it was a mistake to leave that aspect ratio. They should have just iterated on that original design.
Absolutely. Make it a little better. Make it fold flat. That would have been nice. Yeah. App pairs, that would have been awesome too. Like all these little things that they didn't include. But I always loved that. I always loved landscape. Dominant for folds. I think the Z Fold Wide, or whatever they're going to call it, is going to be I think that would be a hit. That's why I like the trifold. I love a wider aspect ratio. It's better for apps. It's better for multitasking. It's better for so many things that I think it's fantastic. That's the choice. I don't know why Google, like you said, Google got away from it. Why did they need a product that just looked like everybody else? I think I don't understand that decision. I don't know why they decided to be like, okay, we're going to be like the Galaxy Z Fold. They had something different. They had an angle, competitive advantage, and they squandered it there. But I love the wider aspect ratios on all these phones now. And I have 16 by 9, bring it back.
I think that's a good place to transition into the Motorola announcements for this week. So this is, I think, a good microcosm of what's happening in the smartphone world, right? Just the announcements from Motorola as a whole. So let's break them down. There's a new Razr Plus, and Razr Fold. Sorry, Razr Plus, Razr Fold, and Razr Ultra.
Right. And regular Razr.
Razr Plus, Razr Ultra, and Razr Fold. My God. Okay. So first of all, this is from the flip phone side, the most iterative Samsung-like update year over year you can imagine.
Yeah.
In fact, even less so because the chips were not really updated. Prices went up universally.
Yeah.
In the case of the Ultra, it went up to $1,500. And they're really leaning into their lifestyle, influencer connections, right? Paris Hilton, was at the party last week in LA. There was, there's a bunch of sports influencers and fashion influencers. They're
the
doing
World Cup
sparkles.
tie-ins. Yeah,
they're doing Pantone again. They're doing FIFA integrations. Lots of stuff. You have wood backs. You have sparkles, sequins.
Alcantara, that quilted bluish purple, whatever it is. Yeah.
Alcantara. Remember when the Surface came with an Alcantara keyboard?
Yes.
And everybody was like, "What the?"
I like it. I like that. If I didn't think it would wear horribly,
it did wear horribly.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. If I didn't think it was gonna, I would get it. But you can't use it. You can't
You can't get it wet. What are you thinking?
I mean, that phone's only IP48 rated anyway, so don't take it outside.
That's not exactly the same thing as the back of your phone starts melting after a year.
Oh, that's true. No, and I agree with you. And this is funny because I thought that at the beginning of 2026, like you said, there's a choice for manufacturers. I thought there were only two. I thought you could be the Samsung route. So go ahead, we're going to upgrade the chipset. We're going to give you some improvements here, but we're going to charge you more. Or it could be like the Pixel 10a, where we're like, okay, we're going to keep things kind of where they are, but we're going to hit the price point. We're going to keep the price the same. Motorola's like, well, wait, what do I have something for you? I got to keep everything the same and increase the price. I didn't think there was a third direction there. Moto seemed to have found it.
You do, because Motorola is not the only company that's increasing prices right now.
Oh, but not giving anything as well. Like that was like either you can increase or
every smartphone company that isn't Samsung or Apple is doing a mid-cycle product price increase.
Right. Yeah.
OnePlus and Oppo and Honor are announcing price increases as today. They announced price increases for the same products.
It's incredible.
The RAM issues. And anyway, so going back to Motorola, right? This is the same product they released last year. Fine.
Yeah.
Then there's the Razr Fold that was announced at CES. I got to play around with it a little bit. It is nothing. It's nothing. I just I don't understand why they did this, particularly to release it in North America. So Motorola stole market share from Samsung in the flip space last year. They thought that the momentum can help them leverage some growth on the fold space, maybe. But I think, for one thing, the folds compared to the flip style foldables, the book style foldables don't sell as well. They're much more expensive. They're not as practical. And I think you may disagree with me, but most owners who went in on a book style foldable, unless you're kind of a hardcore like, consumer or like multitasker or whatever, you're not really using the inside display very often.
No, and I agree with you. And this is what frustrates me with clamshell foldables. You don't have to explain to somebody how to use it, or they don't have to change the way that they use their phone. They're paying the price that they're roughly used to paying now for flagship devices. Well, now $1,500 is a lot, but they were paying roughly what you were paying for a flagship phone. It was just your regular smartphone that you folded when you were done, and you put it in your pocket, and it was stylish and sleek, and a conversation starter, and all the rest of it. Book styles, you have to have a reason why you're paying $2,000, and nobody, I think, if Samsung and Google have tried, and now Motorola, I don't know what their hook is going to be. Silicon carbon battery, that's nice. Stylus support, that's nice. Is that enough to give you the value that you're spending at $2,000+ to justify just not getting a regular phone? I like them because I'm a hardcore user. I'm an enthusiast. I do work on them. Is that going to be you? If it's not, then you don't need to buy these. I was curious. I thought I could have swore they were doing a Microsoft Surface Duo-esque hinged device, because that screamed Moto, right? We're going to give you the screen real estate of these foldables, but we're going to do it in a cost-effective way that you're going to pay $1,400 for, and we'll do it slightly differently, and you'll still have the value, but it'll be cool and it'll be different. I was shocked when they said, okay, it's just a regular book-style foldable like the Galaxy Z Fold and the Pixel Fold, and here it is. I'm like, oh, okay. That's an odd market to want to break into, even if you siphon off, like you say, even if you siphon off X amount of users. Like, how many users are, A, going in for their second one, B, really getting enough value there to justify the price, and then C, not going to go with Google or Samsung, where they're going to get software support that they know. Now, they promise more. Motorola does, but that's a wait and see. They haven't proven that
really.
They could do that.
They're only doing 3 years of OS updates.
Oh, is that on the? I thought the big Fold got more.
No, I think it was 5 years of security patches and 3 years of OS.
See, there you go.
I could be wrong, but that's what I saw.
But even if they offer the same, you don't know what the support looks like on Motorola. Are you going to get Android 17? Sure. When? I don't know. 2027, 2028, who knows? You never know.
I just updated my 2025 Razr Ultra, and it's still on the December 2025 patch.
Exactly.
So obviously not a big deal, right?
Right.
The security patches, the updates, like they don't matter nearly as much anymore.
Right.
But it speaks to a misalignment, I think, in kind of understanding the market, and particularly when people are more price conscious than ever. Releasing a $1,900 foldable today is not a great look, and releasing a foldable that's $1,900 that like doesn't really move the needle at all is also not a good look. So, you're a couple months away from a Samsung Galaxy Fold 8.
Right.
The Fold 7 will be discounted significally once that happens.
$1,600 right now.
Right, and it'll go down maybe to 15, 14.
Sure.
Samsung gives you very good trade-in deals. You're getting 7 years of software updates. I would argue that Samsung's software, flawed as it is a better experience than Motorola's.
Sure.
I just think overall this was a mistake for Motorola to seek out this market. I think foldables in general, even with the uplift from the iPhone Ultra, whatever it ends up being called, I'm not convinced that book style foldables are long for this world. And
interesting.
I just don't see the market for it long term.
I get it.
I don't know if it'll be interesting. I'm happy to eat my hat in a year or two if Apple raises all boats. Like let's revisit that hot take in a couple of years. But frankly, like I have 8 foldables in my drawer. I don't use them, and I'm a pretty typical user. Like I don't think that I'm somebody who like I'm not that hardcore multitasker that and like I just don't think there are that many folks out there that want that dual screen. You
don't want to be scrolling two at once. You want to be scrolling Instagram and X at the same time, just constantly.
Well, it's interesting too that we're seeing such a rejection of smartphone as like time waster at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, that idea that there are so many single purpose gadgets coming to take back some of your time, your purposefulness, your intent, and desegmenting from that broader picture of like your phone does everything, therefore you should always be on your phone. And you know, back at AP, like you and I talked a little bit about standalone Walkman and like, you know, just this idea that folks are trying to spend less time on their phones. And to my eyes, like a book style foldable is that product that encourages you to spend all of your time
everything
on a single device.
Entertainment, gaming. And you're right. And I like I mean, I know you don't love this. My Unihertz Titan 2 Elite, the Clicks communicator that's coming out later this year, the Pebble Time those are released, Pebble Time 2. Yep. Those are all that efforts. And I was talking about this watch. Actually, I did the Sideload podcast with our good friend Will, and I was talking about this watch, and you know, I had a Seiko message watch that would get radio wave information. You get sports scores and you get whatever. But I like the part of the reason why I'm so nostalgic for the late 90s period of tech and early 2000s is that this stuff and those purpose-built things that you're talking about, stuff like the Pebble Time, you were connected, but you weren't obligated. I was connected in that I could get information. I could see things if I wanted it. When I was on, but I didn't feel always obligated to respond to you immediately. I didn't feel like I was always obligated to check that email and respond to it in the first 10 minutes. And a bunch of different things down the line. And there was a time when I guess smartphones came along that we made that switch. And my brain's been wired that way for a long time now. And I'm sure other people are the same way. That because of that connectivity, because of these devices like that are just one-stop shop, that they're your entertainment, they're your whatever. Of course, you're going to answer that message or that email at 9 p.m. because you're watching whatever, your game or whatever on your phone. So there's segmenting these devices out again and getting back to that late 90s kind of style of these things, I think is a great idea. And I think it'll help people in the long run. I really do. I like purpose-built technology, and I hope we see more of it. I hope the Clicks is successful. I hope Unihertz is successful. I hope the Pebble comeback is successful, and we see more of these devices for sure.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot, though, because as much as I agree with you in theory, it takes two to tango in that sense, because as more of our, like I use Instagram as an example here, right? I have an Instagram account, but a couple of years ago, I made a concerted effort to get rid of it on my phone. And I don't really like using it because like Twitter, its algorithmic feed just immediately like captures my attention, and I spend half an hour losing myself to it without any meaningful benefit. I don't remember what I look at. It's just slot at this point. And that is contrasted with the fact that if I don't go on Instagram, I miss like 90% of what my friends have posted. Because my friends are not posting anywhere else anymore.
Right.
My friends, all millennials basically, they're not Snapchatting me. They're not telegramming me. They're not iMessaging me. Like it's a rare occasion where, you know, the group chat is blowing up, and
Sure.
It's a rare occasion that like you're sitting on the phone with a buddy.
Oh, forget it.
Talking to them. Right? You may check in on WhatsApp or iMessage every once in a while, but the vast majority of communication is broadcast these days, right? So if my friend's baby does something cute, he's not DMing me that photo.
Right.
He's putting it in an Instagram story. And my wife is telling me, "Oh, did you see what happened to XYZ?" And
Right.
I'm like, "No, I had no idea." Because they're not sending me this text, and maybe I don't have great friends. Like that's another thing, right? The loneliness pandemic is real,
Yeah.
and that people are not. But like I joke, but I'm also not joking because
Sure.
I think everybody has had that experience that people don't have the bandwidth to do both. If you're spending all of your time curating your Instagram stories and broadcasting to TikTok, you're spending less time doing one-on-one interaction and communication. And I think this is particularly true of guys, right? Guys in particular are not great at keeping in touch. And this has been something that I have, as I've gotten older and I've spent more time thinking about friendship and how to keep friendships going and how to ward off the inevitable loneliness of just like being a middle-aged man whose friends are all, they all have young kids and they all can't go out anymore, and you can't, just go to get a drink or go to a movie unless you get a babysitter and plan a week or a month in advance. If I'm not in those places, if I decide to use my phone in a more analog way, I'm just missing stuff, right? So the behavior has to change on both ends.
Yeah.
Right? If we go back to BBM, you have to have the other person on BBM.
No, look, you brought up a few things. Number one, this is a non-serious one. You not posting your Instagram is robbing the world, because those photos that you sent me, those headshots for the podcast, boy, you would be a hit on there. Let me just say, Patrick Stewart wouldn't have anything on Instagram.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, the thing you're saying, I get it. I think there's a lot of different things. Number one, that's why I still bowl every week, because everybody, my 3 friends that I bowl with, we're all in our 40s. We all have kids. We all have wives. We all have. If you don't have that scheduled thing every week to go to, I don't know when the next time I'd see him. You'd see him once every 6 months when you could all organize schedules. If you have something scheduled, that's the only way I've found in my 40s to maintain that. And I get what you're saying. And the thing is, like for guys, like we used to have, okay, so we don't get the Instagram photo of the baby or whatever. But it used to be that, yes, you talk on the phone, but you'd be watching, game 6 of the 97 finals. Okay. You'd all know you were watching it. And then the next day when you saw them or you got online or you went to work, whatever, that's what you talk about. Right. There was these shared experiences a different way.
Correct. The death of monoculture has coincided, that splintering of pop culture has coincided with the splintering of communication, or the move to broadcast communication primarily. And let me ask you a question, okay? Because I'm the same, right? I have a lot. Right. I play ball. I play tennis. I have a book club. Like, I see my friends as often as I can in person. And what I know is, like, I'm not Instagramming. I'm not even on my phone.
Sure.
During those get-togethers, right? Like, I am actively not on my phone. I don't record the experience for posterity because I'm trying to be present. Maybe at a party, I'll take out my phone and like take some photos. But even then, I have to kind of consciously put myself in that mindset. And, like, you and I are tech guys. So when you see your 3 friends, who I presume are not tech guys or just people in the world, like, what is their relationship to technology?
Their phones. I mean, they have basically, it's a normal user. They're checking their phones for whatever reason. The baby's going to sleep, or the baby cam, or whatever. Check in certain things. I mean, I'm very good bowling. Like, I'll check certain things on the secondary phone that I have out or whatever it is. But I'll keep my iPhone in my pocket. I literally have it, so if my wife needs to message me something about the baby, she can message me, or emergencies or something like that. Yeah. But I'll go like an hour or 2 hours without looking at it, because I'm focused on the lanes, I'm focused on what we're doing. It's a competition, so you're other teams, you're chatting, you're hanging out, you're having beers, whatever else. So, that's something, my challenge, and this is something I like to ask you. My challenge is, I've talked about this a lot. Ever since basically smartphones have come out, we've kind of gotten our brains rewired for this constant whatever. I've had a lot of trouble reading, like sitting down and reading books. I can't find that quiet that it takes in your brain to sit down, block everything out, and read solo. So I don't have the distraction of friends. I don't have bowling going on. I don't have these other things. It's very difficult to just sit down, read a book, and kind of keep track of what I'm reading as I'm going. I found that very difficult over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, look, I read a lot, and I'm the same way, and I think I could host a whole series about this, because I splintered attention, so many of my peers have been diagnosed with ADHD later in life and are taking, some form of Ritalin in order to concentrate in their lives and their jobs. And, the proliferation of these devices that are built essentially to splinter our attention makes it so that, like, are you succumbing more so to the illness, or is the illness being exacerbated because of the medium by which you are kind of like splintering your attention? And I will say, like, I try to sit down and have an e-reader next to me and read for a period of time every day. Like, that's become something that I look forward to. But if I have my phone near me, I know that for every 10 minutes that I sit and read, I will spend half an hour just triaging notifications.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't even realize that I'm doing it. And I don't, but I should put my phone on Do Not Disturb or even turn it off. But I'm not going to, like, I don't do that because there may be something that I need to attend to.
Right.
And that fear of missing out, that fear of not being available, even though there's never really been a reason to look at my phone other than, like, oh, I got a work email that I may need to reply to later.
Right.
I just think that is the thing that I keep coming back to. I don't like Instagram. I don't want TikTok. I don't like even Blue Sky, which is not really the algorithmic feed that Twitter has turned into. It's just more and more consumption. And yet it still feels like if I don't participate in that culture, I am not going to learn enough about what's happening in the world to converse with you or with my friends or even with my wife. And I don't know how people do it, frankly.
No.
Like, how do you turn off your phone
and just
and then
off for a bit
and have a good relationship with it and still be a person on the internet?
Right. Well, it's tougher for us, right? Because we have to be up on all these things and because of the constant communication. But you're right. This societal expectation and the bar is raised. Like, you're not in 1998. If I missed a phone call or you weren't home, you weren't home. Okay, you had an answering machine. Maybe you'd get to it a few hours later, and maybe the next day you'd call the person back. And that was just the expectation. You weren't doing anything wrong. You were just existing as a person. Now it's, why didn't you answer this text in 5 minutes? I just called you. I know you have your phone on you. So I don't know, like, are these devices a way out? You say you got to admit there's a problem before you can work on the solution. I don't know if enough people are going to be willing to do that. But at the same time, how do you bring the expectation down as a society? Like, my mother's 70-something years old. If I don't answer on the second ring, what happened? Why do you have a phone? Why is it?
Yeah.
And look, because 20 years ago when you called me, did I answer on the first ring? Sometimes you didn't get a call back. So it's different. It's a different expectation to be a friend, to be a human, to be a coworker. There's a higher bar now. And I don't think we figured out a way to justify that in our brains and still have this kind of quiet alone time. You're never alone. No. Even you're sitting alone in your bedroom at night, or sitting alone in my office at night, my baby and my wife are asleep, I'm sitting alone in my office, you're never alone. And that is a bizarre feeling of just never being able to turn that switch off. And not being able to turn that switch off is damaging, I think, over time.
Oh, I am... Like, the brain rot is real. The long-term impact of phone addiction, we're only now just thinking about it in an objective way. We're only now just studying its long-term impact, right? And I despair for my children, right? This idea this idea that I have to provide my kids with a phone.
Because they're behind, like you said. They societally, they're behind if you don't. So, like, they're not keeping up on information. So how are you going to unleash them on the world when they're already X amount of years behind somebody else?
Yeah, but I guess, I've walked down the street enough times with just watching a teenager can't be more than 12 or 13, head in a phone, not looking at the traffic, not looking at what's going on around them, completely absorbed, and thinking that kid might get hit by a car and they will never see it coming. And wanting to yell at them to put their phone away and realizing that I'm not their parent and I can't do that. So I want to ask you, just as we're kind of thinking about ending this conversation, like, did you ever have one of those old school tape answering machines?
Yes. Yeah.
Did it actually say the message out loud like it did in the movies? Or like it would like project the message as it was coming in?
You know, I don't know if I ever had one of those. We had the tape one. Now that's a good question. Did it ever? I think it did, because that was the whole part of screening calls back then. It would play the message and then you'd hear what the message was over the speaker, because then you could go run and pick it up. So yes, they did do that. And then the ones later on in the cordless phones had like the solid state bit that would keep messages in the base. And on that one, I found mine from 2000, not that long ago, plugged it into the wall, hit the greeting, and my original message from high school was still in there. And listen, so I play it, and it's basically, if you've ever seen Seinfeld, the George answering machine.
Yeah, believe it or not, George isn't at home.
do that whole thing, except I dub in Steve, or there was a couple different variants.
It's so original. So original.
So,
by the way,
my wife hears it, and she hears my voice at the time, which sounds almost exactly the same as it does now. And she's like, most people change. Most people change in 20 years. Like, nope.
That's hilarious.
Nah, you get it right from the start. You keep on trucking. That's it.
That's it, man. You had a voice for radio the moment you were born. I bet you just came out of your mom and just be like, put me in front of a microphone.
Well, we would do. I'd have those tape recorders back in the old tape recorder with the big tapes, big cassettes. Yeah. And I do mock radio shows at 5 and 6. I'd walk around and interview people and do different things like that. So
I would love to listen to those.
Oh, I wish I still had those. I wish I still had those. Those were.
I was my valedictorian.
Nice.
In grade 8. So I went to a school that was 1 to 8, and I was my valedictorian in grade 8. And then I did debate all through high school.
Oh, I did forensics.
I was like a drama kid. I was in the drama society all through high school and university. I did a bunch of Shakespeare. I loved it. And I was actually talking yesterday to a friend of my daughter's parent, who we were talking about, joking but not really, about starting up a drama class just so that I could do Shakespeare with a bunch of grade 3s. Because the idea of like directing a bunch of 8-year-olds,
you'd be.
I think it would be so much fun.
It's got to be fun.
Absolute chaos, but I would love it. So I don't know, man. I think there's a reason that I've been podcasting for 15 years.
Sure.
Like it's something that comes very naturally to me. But I often wonder, like, that trope of a guy getting caught cheating because the answering machine,
100%.
The woman like left a message and his wife was in the room or something, like that just doesn't happen anymore.
Wow.
Well, not that specific thing.
No, now you get a text or whatever.
Now you get now the thing is, like, you get a text, but your iMessage is synced to your iPad and your.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one. That's a huge one. That's a big one. Oh my.
Yeah, I just finished a book called Strangers, or Stranger, which is about this woman whose husband left her a couple weeks into the pandemic. It's by Belle Burden. It was very popular earlier this year, and it was a mind f, like, just absolute mind trip. By the way, I remember last week I swore a bunch. And then Spotify automatically flagged the show as explicit. It must have listened to it, found a swear word in the transcript, and then flagged it, because I didn't say it was explicit, but I guess AI is smart enough now that it can just tell. So we're gonna try not to swear, just so that we can keep it PG.
Well, I keep it on toddler speak all the time. That way I don't let one slip out. Like there are certain words like we don't want her saying, even just like stupid. We're big on that. So it's like it's been I've been rewiring. I say silly a lot now. Oh, that's silly. Yeah. So, I go back and forth on that with.
Well, look, I have to go potty, so we're gonna end the show. But yeah, no, I think we should end it because it's about an hour, and that's a good place to stop.
The length. Wasn't that the thing? Oh, speaking of old school, didn't the original podcast not want to go over an hour and 15 minutes because that was the length if you burned it to a CD? I think that was the original reason why certain podcasts were kept to under an hour and 15 minutes, so you could burn an episode to a CD.
That feels apocryphal.
I don't know.
That's real.
I don't know. I thought that was always the reason why you kept it right around here.
I mean, radio was the original podcast, so I don't actually know that that's true.
Yes.
But
yes, that's true.
Speaking of which, did you ever listen to the first the first season of Serial? Like the original
the
Serial?
one with the kid with the cell phones and tracking the towers?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I think it's been enough time that I should re-listen to it. I know obviously what happened, but I think it's one of the best.
Well, he eventually got out, right? It took a long time.
He did. But then I think he was he not recharged, and then he got acquitted again? There was some drama in the last few years.
Well, it's an interesting look at, if you do listen to it, it is an interesting look into, I mean, it's not the reason why you listen to it, but into the late 90s cell technology.
Yes. Yeah. The fact that they tracked towers, their cell phone signals.
Yeah, they tracked the cell phone signals in the individual towers and moving towers. But the radio signals were different back then, and they could stretch further than you think if the weather was a certain way. It was a whole thing with that. But it's interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is fun. This was good. We'll get this out.
Yeah. For the 6 people, or 11. It was 11.
It's 11. There's dozens of us.
Dozens
of us.
Tens of hundreds.
Steven, have a great week.
Same to you.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Sounds good.